Hello everyone, welcome to HIM 130. In chapter 12, we talk about coder productivity. And in this assignment, you're going to be determining productivity and identifying coders who are not meeting the productivity guidelines. For this assignment, you're going to be opening an attached Excel spreadsheet. And when the spreadsheet opens, you're going to have to enable editing. So up here at the top where it tells you it's in a protected view, you need to click on enable editing. Now I want you to notice that this spreadsheet has two tabs at the bottom, and one is the tab that is the productivity standards, and then the other tab is for the productivity. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the tab at the bottom to develop the coding productivity standards. And let's see if I can get over there. Okay. Now, I want to explain the information that is on this spreadsheet. So we're looking at the amount of time that a coder spends coding certain types of charts. We measure it in minutes. And from the information that's in your textbook, you know that the length of stay of the patient determines how long a coder typically takes to code it. Because the longer a patient stays, the more complex the case, more information to review, it takes longer. So for our purposes, in our facility, we have determined that the coders spend an average of 15 minutes on a record for patients that have a 1 to 2 day length of stay, 20 minutes for 3 to 5 days, 25 minutes for 6 to 8 days, and 32 minutes for 9 to 10 days. For 38 days or more, for 11 days or more, 38 minutes. So when we're looking at productivity, we're trying to determine how many charts a coder should code in a day. And that's this row that you will fill out. So if we know that it takes 15 minutes to code a chart, and we know that our coders work 420 minutes per day. 420 minutes is 7 hours. So typically that would be 30 minutes for lunch, 2 15-minute breaks. This might be a little aggressive. I've seen other statistics that basically say they average 6.5 hours a day for coders, because there are other things that coders do besides just code. They may discuss cases with each other. They may have people come into the department to ask questions. They may be doing research for a case that they're coding. In our facilities, when we worked with productivity, our coders had a daily log. And for that period of time that they were not actively coding a chart, they would record their time on this log. So if they researched a case, they would document that. If they were reading Coding Clinic, a new coding clinic that had come out, they would document that. If they were participating in continuing education, they would document that. So they had logs that they would complete that would show variances. This would not be hard and fast if you found that a coder missed productivity by a few charts. You wouldn't necessarily take disciplinary action for something like that. So when we're looking at how many charts a day a coder should be able to complete If they're coding 1 and 2 day stays, we have a formula for that. We would take the 420 minutes and divide it by 15 because that's the expectation. So we would expect the coders to code about 28 charts a day if they were just coding 1 and 2 day stays. So then what you will need to do is complete this spreadsheet with the number of charts a day that the coders would need to complete if they were coding a length of stay, a chart for a patient with a 3 to 5 day length of stay. So what is the average number of minutes they would spend coding that chart? 20 minutes. So in this cell, you would want to divide 420 minutes by 20 minutes to determine the number of charts. And you would do the same thing 6 to 8 days. They should be able to code one chart in 25 minutes. So 420 divided by 25 minutes. And you're going to build that formula and populate these cells. Now, the next spreadsheet that we're looking at is actually set up so once you populate these cells, the data will be pulled over to that spreadsheet. And I'm going to show you that. So remember here, we're saying that if for a coder that is coding 1 to 2 day charts, length of stay charts, she should be able to code 28 a day. Now let's pop over to this other Excel spreadsheet. And this is where these numbers, these productivity standard in minutes for each length of stay category are going to pop in. So once you calculate the number of records for the length of stay of 3 to 5, it's going to populate this, and it will do that all the way down. So now let's take a look at what we're doing on this Excel spreadsheet. We have a coding professional example, and we're going to work with that example, and you'll be able to use the same formulas for our other 3 coders. And this spreadsheet is broken down by day of the week. How many charts did each of these coders code each day of the week? And then we need a weekly average. And when we compare our standard, we're not looking at it by day. We're looking at it by week and looking at the weekly average. So when I click in this cell for our example coding professional, you can see that we are averaging the cells from B8 to F8. So we're averaging. What's the average of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? That's what goes here. So you should be able to copy that formula down to come up with a weekly average for each of these coders. Now we have also been able to break down the charts they coded into length of stays. So for our example coder, we have said that they coded 4 1 to 2 day length of stays, 23 3 to 5 days, 27 6 to 8 day, 20 9 to 10 day, and 12 11 plus days charts. So the total number of charts that this coder coded all week long was 86. Well, we have to base our productivity on the volume and the length of stay. So that's a little more of that's kind of a complex formula. So when we come down to this area that is really going to give us our productivity, I'm going to show you the formula that we use and walk you through it. Most organizations probably have this data, but I'm just going to tell you that this is a great Excel spreadsheet. When I worked, I brought many of the Excel spreadsheets that I used working into the classroom for the students to work with. We had productivity software, so I didn't have to calculate it on an Excel spreadsheet. But this is a great Excel spreadsheet just to have and maintain in case you ever need it. So So what we're going to do here is look at this formula. And this is a formula. First of all, I want you to notice that the function is sum product. And I'm going to show you how to work with sum product, but these are two arrays. And so we were able to take the number of charts for each length of stay and the total charts and divided that number by the total number of charts that they coded in the entire week. So if we look at this, let's go back and look at this array again. So this array took H8 to L8. So H8, right, to L8, which are all the charts that he coded by length of stay. And then we looked at H12 to L12. This is the productivity in minutes information. So H12, and then you'll be pulling over the numbers from the productivity spreadsheet. So you'll have all of this information filled in here as well. And we divided that by M8, which is the total number of charts that he coded. So let's compute this formula. And this doesn't, we need to have volumes in these. So hold on just a second. You're going to need to compute them, but I'm going to come back over here and copy these formula. Oh, that didn't work. So this is not a formula. This is not a formula. It's not going to copy because it doesn't have any relational data in it. So I've just completed that. You'll have to complete it on yours, and you'll see that when I populate this, I can copy this formula, and it will pull all of those numbers over. So I did that simply by putting my cursor at the bottom corner of H12 till I got the X mark, and then copied it over. The other thing that you can do is in this formula, do you see it says developing coding standards B10? I'm going to delete that and show you how to do that. I click in this cell and I hit plus. So you can see I've highlighted H12. I hit plus, and then I just go down here and flip back over to the spreadsheet, put my cursor right here in B10 and hit enter. And it pulls it, see? It pulls it from B10 right over there. And that's what you do to populate those numbers into each of these cells. Okay, so now let's calculate this formula. I want to show you how you create this formula. Alrighty, let me move this back over. So when we go to build this formula, we click in the cell and then we come up to the function key. And actually, you click on the drop down and you go down to more functions. And when you click on more functions, I have sum product highlighted because I have used it before and it put it at the top. You can scroll down and see if you see it. If you don't, just come up here and type. Take this out and just type in sum product and hit go, and it'll find sum product, and you click on it. After you click on it once, it'll be there every time you want to go look at it. Now we can see the array. So this is the range of cells that we want to look at. So I'm going to hit this up arrow, and when I do, it actually takes me to the table, and I can highlight the cells that I want to include. And the cells that I'm going to include here are the records by length of stay. So I want to pick up these length of stay columns. And what I did was I clicked in H8, held down my shift key, and then pressed my right pointing arrow, and so it moved from cell to cell. So again, when array pops up, you're going to click in H8, hold down your shift key on your keyboard, and then use the right arrow key to click over to L8, and then hit enter. And so now we have H8, L8. So now we need to pick our second array. And the second array is actually the productivity standard in minutes that we need to measure those against. So I'm going to click in H12. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and then I'm going to press the right arrow key so that I have all of those cells highlighted, and then I'm going to press enter. Now, you'll notice you have an equal sign here, the 1443.73159. At this point, I'm going to hit OK. Now, this is not the expected, this is not the expected productivity for the week, because we have to divide that number by the total charts that he coded for the week, which was 86. So I'm coming back up here to the function line, and I'm going to click in the function line, and then I'm use the divide, which is the backspace, and then I'm going to click in M8, and then I'm going to press enter. And so it tells me that for my example coding professional, that the standard for him for the week would be 16.78 charts. And how many did he actually average? He actually averaged 17.2, because we went up here and we computed what his average was. Remember, we did average. And is 16.78, does that meet 17.2? Yes, it does. So he met the standard. So I'm comparing the expected average against the actual average. If the expected average had been 18, would he have met the standard? No, he would not have. So now let's go back over here, and what you're going to be doing for this assignment is you're going to use formulas to complete the weekly average for each coder. That's what we put our weekly average column right here. You're going to use a formula to pull the productivity standard in minutes for each length of stay category into this spreadsheet. So remember how we did that? We clicked on this column, we hit the plus sign, we changed this to the first spreadsheet, clicked on this cell B10 and hit enter, and it pulled it right over. And then we copied that formula by going to the cell, coming right down here where they meet. Then we can double click. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted it to, sorry. And then click. Oh, you got to grab it. Okay, so we're clicking in this cell and we're grabbing it and pulling it over. And when we do that, it'll copy for us. Then the next task that we're going to do is use the sum prod. And I will change that. Sum product, not prod sum. I'll change that on this spreadsheet. And using the sum prod, then we're going to complete the arrays as I demonstrated. First, our first array is for the number of records for each length of stay. And then our second array is actually for the productivity minutes, the standard for the productivity minutes. Once we do that in this cell, then we actually divide it by the total number of charts that the coder completed during the week, and then we make the determination of whether or not the coder met the standard. If you have any questions about the assignment, please get in touch with me. I'll be glad to walk you through it. And that'll conclude this lecture.